Hi everyone, welcome back. If you didn't catch my last vlog video, please be sure to check it out in the description box below, as well as other vlog videos that you have missed. Today's vlog segment will consist of 3 heavy topics that I will be cautioning everybody as a trigger warning. These topics are very controversial amongst everyone, including the third topic, which I will focus on projecting onto the Southeast Asian community through my experience as a Cambodian American. The 3 heavy topics are toxic masculinity, toxic femininity, and intergenerational trauma, aka Generation Curse. Before we begin, I just want to let everybody know that everything that we mentioned in this video is done through my research and sharing through my experience. So listen carefully and pause before adding me in the comments. Also, remember to catch your breath, pause, step out of the room, drink water at any time before watching the rest of this video. Ready to dive right in? Let's go! Toxic masculinity consists of the following traits: physical and mental toughness, aggression, stoicism, or not displaying any emotions, heterosexism, or discriminating somebody who doesn't identify as heterosexual, self-sufficiency, and emotional insensitivity. Typically, toxic masculinity shows up in subtle ways that you may not have heard of, unless this has happened to you. So consider the following of these phrases: no homo, or I'm a guy, what do you expect? Let that sink in for just a moment. Next, we will introduce where does toxic masculinity come from. According to a 2018 survey by the Pew Research Center, for example, found that respondents attributed protective behavior as a positive trait for men, while being nurtured or emotional is seen as something negative. Health effects of toxic masculinity. According to a 2014 survey by the NCBI, studies have shown that toxic masculinity can affect a man's physical and mental health, contributing to poor sleep and depression. Societal impacts of toxic masculinity. Trigger warning: rape culture. Let that sink in before I continue. Alright, let's continue. Societal impacts of toxic masculinity is this idea of toxic masculinity, which tends to treat cisgender women as sexual conquests. The quote-unquote boys will be boys might sound harmless to kids roughhousing on the playground, but it evolves into excuses for violent behavior or not respecting boundaries. Violence on toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity also teaches men and masculine folks that aggression and violence are keys to solving problems, unless you appear weak. In addition to this line of thinking tends to rob men of learning other effective ways to build coping skills and better communication techniques. Now that we have covered toxic masculinity, it's time we move on to the next part of this video: toxic femininity. Take a moment to let that sink in before I begin. Toxic femininity. Definition. Toxic femininity is defined as women expressing stereotypically quote-unquote feminine traits such as passivity, empathy, sensuality, patience, tenderness, and receptivity, which results in individuals ignoring their mental or physical needs to sustain those around them. If women display toxic feminine traits, then these are tactics that women take to survive oppressive misogyny, suffering from internalized misogyny. Alright, I hope everyone got a chance to let that sink in before we continue with the rest of this vlog. Sexism pertaining to toxic femininity. Sexism robs women's rights and status. Toxic femininity, however, in defining womanhood so shallowly that a woman feels degendered by basic human acts or neutral preferences. Now that we uncovered toxic femininity, this will give everybody a chance to be able to understand on how you can identify a toxic feminine person or recognizing toxic feminine traits in someone. But before I go on to the next and final topic, which is intergenerational trauma, aka generation curse, again, I want everyone to take a moment to catch their breath, drink some water. Feel free to take a step out of the room for just a moment before we continue with the final heavy topic of this vlog. Alright everybody, I hope you all got time to take a moment to reassess yourselves and catch your breath, drink water, etc. before we move on to the final segment for this topic. Here we go. Intergenerational trauma, aka generation curse. Definition. Intergenerational trauma or historical trauma is a term that is defined where trauma occurs when it is not mentioned in previous generations. As a result, trauma is passed on to generations within families and communities. Growing up, my parents experienced the Cambodian genocide from 1975 to 1979. The motherland country that they knew and loved was bombed tragically and catastrophically due to the Communist Party of Kampuchea, led by the Communist General Secretary Pol Pot. My family had to flee from Cambodia in order to escape from the clutches of the Cambodian genocide and seek out a new home and relocate to the United States and start a brand new life. Because my family was affected by the genocide, it affected the relationship with me and my siblings due to us three, born and raised as Cambodian Americans, having to fulfill the high expectations for our family lineage, not knowing that I, as a Cambodian American, do not accept being a conservative religious Buddhist, nor do I want to follow many strict cultural traditions. I am living with my family's generation curse every day, but it has made me realize that my family needs healing more than ever. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to break this curse once and for all, so that way history doesn't repeat itself for future generations. To conclude, we need to amplify our voices when speaking out on issues around racism, discrimination, xenophobia, bigotry, as well as decolonization. Overall, I hope you all were able to reassess yourselves despite how traumatic, heavy, and internalizing this vlog has made you feel. Thank you for watching. I hope you all learned something new today and will continue to support my vlog channel. As an aspiring social justice advocate, I love to hear everybody's stories of how it has shaped them to make a difference in the world during these difficult times. Be sure to give my video a thumbs up and let me know in the comment section below of how you can relate to these three heavy topics. Or please feel free to share your perspectives from these three topics that we discussed today. Stay tuned for the next vlog coming up in September. Thank you all for being with me here today. See y'all next time.